He was stirring pasta on the stove when the phone rang, just a normal Wednesday evening. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. Or so Elliot Rowe thought, but that call quiet, simple, and almost awkward was the moment everything shifted. A stranger's voice on the other end, polite but distant. "Mr. Rowe, we need you to come in tomorrow. There's an inheritance waiting for you." Elliot wasn't rich. He didn't know of any dead relatives. And yet, the next morning, he found himself driving to a notary's office, unknowingly stepping into the beginning of the strangest story he'd ever lived. When he arrived, the streets were empty. It was Saturday, and the firm was technically closed. The man who answered the door was his family's notaria, professional Elliot vaguely remembered from his parents' estate planning years ago. "Come in, Elliot. I know this will sound strange." He was right. Nothing about what followed made sense. The notary handed him a worn map, a faded photograph, and a brass key heavy in his hand. Then came the explanationer, what little of it there was. "A man named Walter Jonas left you this property, a floating manor on Lake Conomoc in central Connecticut. It's yours now." Elliot blinked. "Who?" "Your uncle. Distant but family." Elliot had never heard the name in his life. His parents were both alive. There hadn't been a recent funeral. But the key and deed were real. The address, too. The notary couldn't or wouldn't offer much more. Just that he was instructed to deliver the inheritance directly and say nothing else. By that afternoon, curiosity won. Elliot packed a bag and set off. The lake was only 40 minutes away. Close enough to be familiar, yet he'd never heard of it. As he neared the water's edge, he caught sight of the Hausino. Not a house. A fortress. Massive and impossibly balanced in the middle of the lake, like a floating island with Gothic windows and steel anchors. It bobbed slowly with the ripples. Locals at a nearby cafe seemed uneasy when he asked about it. "That place? Nobody goes near it. Should have sunk years ago," one older man muttered. "The owner never came ashore. We don't know who lived there. Don't want to know." Others just shook their heads and refused to speak. Elliot's unease deepened. Whatever this place was, it wasn't normal. But that didn't stop him. Eventually, he found a weathered sign, June's Boats. Inside sat an older woman behind a desk. "You don't want to go out there," she said flatly when he explained. But Elliot begged. He'd come all this way, and it was his, or so they said. June finally relented. "I'll take you, but I won't stay." The ride across the lake was silent. The boat's engine hummed beneath the slap of the water. As they neared, the house grew more imposing. Barnacled wood, thick chain, a crooked metal dock jutting from its edge. "We're here," June whispered. Elliot stepped onto the swaying platform. "Thanks," but she was already pulling away, vanishing into the mist with one final shout. "Good luck!" He stood there, alone. Key in hand, he turned to the mansion. The lock clicked. The door opened with a groan. Dust spiraled in the filtered light. He stepped in slowly, the silence wrapping around him like a fog. The entry hall stretched wide. Windows shuttered, light barely slipping in through aged curtains. Portraits lined the walls. One made him Stopan older man standing beside the very house Elliot was now inside. The plaque read, "Walter Jonas, 1964. His supposed uncle. He moved deeper into the manor. The library overflowed with books marked in strange shorthand, some pages scrawled with symbols that felt more scientific than literary. The study was filled with notes weather logs, strange maps, constellations with unfamiliar names. One notebook had entries written as recently as 4 weeks ago. Then he found the bedroom. It wasn't dusty like the rest. The bed was made, fresh linens. On the dresser sat a locket. Inside was a photo of a baby, with the name Rowe etched beside it. His name. Beneath it, a note pinned to the mirror. "Time reveals what blood forgets." Something heavy shifted inside him. Up in the attic, newspaper clippings filled a box. One headline circled in red. "Middletown boy disappears, returns days later. Unharmed 1,997. He remembered that. He had been the boy. And he'd never remembered how he got lost. Elliot stood still for a long time, reading through his own childhood from a stranger's perspective. Someone had watched him, kept records. Someone who lived on this lake. Dinner that night was quiet just. A can of beans from the pantry in a shaky hand. He slept in a guest room, still unsure if the house was empty or just waiting. At midnight, a metallic clank startled him awake. No lights, no phone signal. Something below. He grabbed a flashlight and followed the echoing sound through the halls. Behind a tapestry he hadn't noticed earlier was a door. It led to a spiraling staircase that descended deep into the lake's belly. The air shifted the further down he went, colder, more humid, almost salty. At the bottom, a corridor filled with drawers and labels. Genealogy, correspondence, expedition. He found one marked row. Inside, letters addressed to his father. I wish you had answered. The hallway ended in a vault door. A plaque above it read, Authorized Eyes, Only Jonas Archive. He turned the wheel. A hiss escaped as it opened. Behind it, another door. No handle, just a palm scanner and a note. For Elliot Rowe, and him alone. Elliot stared at the scanner, heart pounding. His fingers trembled as he reached out and pressed his palm to the panel. A brief pause then, a soft beep. The door clicked, releasing with a slow mechanical sigh. Lights flickered on overhead, casting cold illumination over the room beyond. It was small metal-lined walls, a control panel of sorts, and a single wooden bench. At the far end, a projector flickered to life on its own. A whir, a faint hum, then a static-filled image bloomed on the wall. A man appeared. White hair, tired eyes. A voice Elliot had never heard, yet felt deep in his bone. "Hello, Elliot," the man said gently. "If you're watching this, I'm gone, and there's something you deserve to know." It was Walter Jonas, his supposed uncle. Only he wasn't. Walter took a breath. "I'm your father, Elliot, your real father." Elliot's breath caught. His knees gave way, and he collapsed onto the bench, frozen. "I know you must be overwhelmed," Walter continued. "I want to tell you everything." He explained how, decades ago, he and Elliot's mother, both scientists, had devoted their lives to researching climate collapse, extreme weather, and survival engineering. They were obsessed with creating a refuge, a self-sustaining haven that could endure any catastrophe. That place was the house floating above Elliot now. It had been their dream. But dreams don't always last. Elliot's mother died giving birth to him. Walter, devastated and emotionally broken, couldn't raise a child on his own. He turned to his younger brother, Elliot's adoptive father, and asked him to raise the boy as his own. "I feared I'd ruin you," Walter said, voice cracking, "but I never left you." He'd kept watch always, watched from a distance, wrote letters, took photos, documented every birthday, every school trip, even the time Elliot went missing in 1997. Walter was the one who found him. That newspaper headline, "Middletown Boy Disappears," wasn't about a lost child. It was about a silent rescue. "I became the ghost the locals feared," Walter said, "the man who never left the floating house. But I was always watching, always loving you from here." The image of Walter blinked for a second, then returned, softer now. This place, it was meant for all of us. A sanctuary, a legacy, and now it belongs to you. Not as a burden, but as a piece of your story, of our story. I hope you'll forgive me. I hope you'll understand. The screen faded to black. Elliot sat in the dim silence, tears streaking down his cheeks. His entire life had just shifted. Everything he thought he knew, his family, his identity, his past had, rearranged itself in a single, irreversible moment. Hours later, just after dawn, June returned. Her boat nudged the dock gently. Elliot stood waiting. He looked different, calmer, older somehow. "You all right?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I just needed to understand a few things." When Elliot got home, he told his Parenti's uncle, an aunt of everything. They listened quietly, their faces drawn and emotional. There were tears, of course, but there was also relief. Finally, the secret they'd carried for over 3 decades could be laid to rest. "Thank you," Elliot whispered to them both. "I know it couldn't have been easy." That night, he lay in his childhood bed, the ceiling unchanged. But he was different. There was peace now. Painful, bittersweet peace, but peace all the same. He knew who he was.